Hello, everyone. Welcome to yet another edition of Mind Blend, the podcast about real experiences and meaningful conversations. Usually hosted by the inimitable Karen Chong. But today's episode is a little different. It's an inside out, upside down episode. Hunter becomes the hunted, and the asker gets asked questions. Yes, in this episode, we put Karen on the hot seat, and I, your host, Sai Ramachandran, get to ask her questions. But first, a bit about Karen that frequent listeners of this podcast may or may not already know. Karen is a self-described firstborn daughter and a third culture kid, which explains a lot about what she excels at, which is to serve as connective tissue between left-brained engineers and right-brained creatives and strategists. She comfortably holds the big picture in her head while being detail-oriented. And I have personal experience with this because I was a guest on her podcast not so long ago. With that, let's welcome our guest for the day, also the host for all other episodes on Mind Blend, Karen Chong.
Hi, Sai. Thank you so much for that intro.
All right, the question number one. You've lived in multiple countries and cities, and you're a third culture kid. My question is basically from my own ignorance. What does it mean to be a third culture kid, and what can you tell us about being a third culture kid?
The quick answer is you're not attached to just one thing.
Mhm.
You don't really fit neatly into any box. And the questions that I get asked a lot, where are you from? I just came back from South Africa and people ask me, where are you from? I really don't know what to answer. Because I think the most relevant may be, I came here from London. Because they're probably asking about where's this visitor from? Like, for example, if you're taking a survey at the monument, for example, they have a survey, they probably just want to know where are people visiting from. They're not interested in my origin.
Right.
But then clearly I told them, London. People may think more like,
where are you? Do they ask you that?
Sometimes, not all the time, not so much anymore. But you don't have a London accent. And then I have to answer, okay, I moved to London from San Francisco. And then if they're not really familiar with how there's generations of Asian people in the US, maybe they'll ask another question. So I really don't know what to tell them because it's like, do you want to know where I'm born, where I grew up, what passports I hold, what language I speak, where I'm living now? So I think it's that. That's my answer.
All right. So my question to you is that you say you're a third culture kid. You have experiences from many parts of the world. You don't know how to answer the question of where you're really from. How does it make you feel when you see someone who's very comfortable in their own skin? Does that, first of all, make you feel a little bit intimidated when somebody's super familiar and super grounded in where they're from? Is there anything which comes to your mind when you meet someone who's like, yeah, I'm from, I don't know, some part of London that I've grown up there for the past, my family's been there for the past 100 years. Does that make you feel like that?
Yes and no. Let me tell you about when it doesn't intimidate me. Because I don't see myself permanently in one place. And if I am living, working in the place that I was born and have never left, and I'm not talking about just traveling. If I've never left, I don't think I will feel very fulfilled in my life. Because I do know people like that. I knew them from school. They are still living in the same area. They marry people from the same school. And their kids are now going to the same school. So I don't feel like I'll be very fulfilled. So this is when it doesn't intimidate me. When it does, and it's more like I'm envious of them, is let's say the tour guide in my trip recently, he's a local and he's been there his whole life. He even showed us the house that he grew up in. And I'm jealous because he knows the city in and out. Because if I say, I want to be this local guide, where do I feel comfortable saying I am the local? Because I'm not really a local anywhere. I've lived in San Francisco and Hong Kong the longest. But I also don't feel 100% qualified to be the local guide. For the time being, local guide. But it's not like I have 50 years living in this place.
So that's one career that you're not going to get into, which is tour guide and showing people around cities. So that's one career option off your list.
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah. So speaking of careers, you've been a project manager, you've been a connective tissue, like you said, between the left-brain engineers and strategists. So what have you done? Like bring us to present day Karen. How did it start? How did you get here?
Let me think. I think most of my jobs have been just being the one in the middle, coordinating different parties. Like my first like relevant job to this, I was a product development coordinator. So the company makes figurines and they have factories in China. And so I work with the product development people, the designer in US time zone. And then that was many, many years ago. And at the end of my day, I'll have to send an email of like all the development stuff. Like, okay, for this product, do this product, do that. People in China do that when we're sleeping. Next day, come back, continue the development. So it like this connective tissue started with that. And my like exposure to different culture helped me because I'm able to just make it really simple for them in China. Like, designers have like fluffy languages, but I don't need the fluffy languages. I just need to tell them, okay, make the hand like 2 centimeters shorter or something like that, right? I don't need to tell them the emotion this change needs to evoke.
Right.
And fast forward, I did a lot of different things in between, but fast forward when I moved back to Hong Kong in the late 2000s, well, can you even say late 2000, 2000 like 6-ish, 7 time frame, I got a job at an advertising agency. So I was an account manager, and it was like an international advertising agency. So most of the clients, they're based, like they are physically in Hong Kong, but these are like multinational companies. So it's again very international. Like while the clients are local Hong Kong people, their counterparts are English, American, you name it. And this is when like language in terms of just like Chinese English and language in terms of like pragmatic and visionary, the being able to bridge that is important. Because again, the people who need to execute, like the designer, the web developer, they just need to know, like, okay, what do I need to change?
So I'm going to assume that the translation was similar, like move the hand 2 centimeters, make the hand 2 centimeters shorter. I mean, I'm assuming that the figurine makers and the ad creative designer needed that level of detailing in both jobs. Would that be right?
For a very, very experienced, say, art director, I didn't need to give her that level of detail because she's not just an execution person. She's the one who like bring vision to art, like how it actually looks like. But for anyone who's less experienced, yes, I will need to tell them, okay, change the color from this hex code to another, like something like that. After that, basically all my jobs have been core. Like the title is project management, program management, and it's similar because I work with people who are very visionary, very creative, and people who are engineers or designers, or they need to produce something. They need like really clear what do I need to do type instructions.
So I'm curious. Okay, this is making me really curious. Do you have any grounding in art for you to be able to say, I'm trying to evoke to create this feeling of awe in my audiences? So for that to be translated into this person should look a certain way or be positioned in a certain way, that must be needing some sort of training. So do you have any training in art? Do you have any training in executing vision? How is it that you're able to translate? Because that seems like it's not an innate skill. You have to be taught these things, no?
Yeah. So even this, I'm sort of the in between because I have no formal training in art. I have no formal training in engineering, but because I have worked with these people enough. So if I think back on when I first started, of course, I didn't start with knowing how to do these things, but I asked questions. Like I asked the people who need to execute, what kind of information will you need to know to be able to go to the next step? And then for the visionary, like I just try to listen to what they're saying. Because like for the visionary, it's a little bit easier to understand because it's not really engineering. You don't need a degree to understand art. And I don't do the art direction, but I use what the client has said, what the creative director is proposing. Like see if there's any gaps in between these because the clients are people. the clients are like business people. So if I can bridge that gap and by asking questions, know what the people who execute need to know, then that like kind of helped me stay afloat. And over time, you just kind of know what the designers will need to know in order for him or her to design something.
Now, you have to tell me this. Has it ever happened that the art director or the person with the vision, I don't know what role they play, but that person said, I want this thing to be conveyed through the product. The final product should convey this emotion. And you're like, no, this is not going to work. Let me inject my own 2 cents, or let me tweak it a little bit so that so has it ever happened that you had to give you added some secret sauce from Karen Chong's Book of Secrets so that the product became nicer, better, sold better, looked better? Did it ever happen that you overruled the art director without them knowing?
I have definitely injected a normal person's point of view. So, for example, this didn't come from the creative director, but it came from the client. We were making a billboard, and the client wanted me to add a paragraph to the billboard. And anyone will know it's not meaningful to add a paragraph on the billboard unless it's a disclaimer that you're forced to put it there.
Because they'll be too small.
And same thing for the creative. Like I would tell them, okay, the client wants to achieve this purpose. Can you explain to me how this creative direction is achieving that? So by asking these type of questions, I'm not overruling their creativity, but I am grounding them. Like, yeah, matching them to what we're trying to achieve by applying, like thinking of how it's going to come across, thinking of how it really looks like in life, and just making sure that it's on the right track. I think that's more of what I do.
So why podcasting? So you did all these things. You were part of an advertising agency. You helped translate the vision into a product. That sounds like, market-focused B2C sort of work. Why podcasting? Why a podcast like MindBlend? Let's transition to that and tell us more about MindBlend as a product, how it came about, what made you commit to this. You've been doing this for how long now? How many episodes has it been?
A year.
Yeah.
Like it's January 15th last year was when the first episode came out.
So what brought you to podcasting, and why? You've done it for a year. A year in podcasting is a lot.
There were a few things, actually. Like I am very much a person who believes in teach people how to fish. And given our world now, the soft skills are very important. And the soft skills that are important are like EQ, like reading the room, understanding your audience, being able to communicate clearly, and problem solving, like analyzing things, not just from like a scientific mathematical point of view, but just don't take things at the surface level. Like I think these are very important for anyone to live a more fulfilling life, or even just not go about life blindly, because that's something that I have been very against even from a very young age. Like, okay, you're at this age, you should be doing that, like that life timeline. There are many people who are just following the life timeline and they don't really ask why, like ask themselves, do I want to do this? Or yes, I'm at the age that I should be doing this, but how does that align with what I really want out of this life? So I think the fundamental reason why I want to spread information is that there's a lot of directions I was considering before, like how to do right things right. It was one of them. But what's right is very subjective. And just because this person said it's right doesn't mean it applies to other people. So I was like, okay, that's not exactly what I want to do. But like, how can I equip people with knowledge that kind of helps them think deeper or open up their minds a little? I think that's why I eventually landed with MindBlend. And then why I wanted to do a podcast is because like I did an internal one at the company that I was working at. It's not related to like MindBlend topics at all. It's just interviewing a few members in the company employee network group and just understanding their experience. It was an Asian American employee network group. So like asking them about Asian American experience in the States, things like that. I was the one person doing everything, but I enjoyed the process so much. Like I thoroughly enjoyed it. I spent a lot of time. That was my first time doing any sort of like recording and then editing. I was doing everything, but there's zero part of me that was complaining. Like, why am I doing, like, why am I the only one doing everything? No, like that did not come up at all. And someone, after I did the internal podcast, I was talking to an ex coworker, and they said, well, maybe that's your true calling. So like that planted a seed. So all these combined made me wanted to do a podcast. And with the first episode, I used to work with that person, that guest, Juan Silvera. And then because he's a marketing guy, at first I was just going to do an interview and post interview somewhere. But because he saw like more potential, it's like, oh, there are more legs with this project. Why don't we do more with it? So that became the first episode.
So in the last 1 year, let's go back to the last one, and then we'll talk about the future. What are the kind of guests you got? Did you always get the kind of people you were looking for, or did you have to say, fish around among friends and say, hey man, can you do an episode with me, because I can't find anyone this week or this month? So how has it been this year, this past year?
So thank God there are platforms that matches guests with shows. So I have gotten a lot of guests from a platform that I use for that purpose. In this coming year, I have some topics that my friends and listeners have requested. And I was recommended another platform where you can put a topic out there, and then there can be people pitching to answer like this call. That source is giving me more knowledgeable guests. But now, like, I think because I want to go deeper, I want people who have like spent extensive amount of time researching the topic, or they have more authority in whatever domain I want to talk about. So finding guests hasn't been all that difficult, thanks to the platform.
So can you give us a sneak preview of the kind of topics we can expect in the second year? Or is that a big secret?
It's not a secret. Like, to summarize, like, how can we let go of our past self? People have been saying the world is changing for many, many years, but the world is changing very rapidly right now. No one is able to just carry on their own self and keep going. So I can use things like, I think that's one big silence. I think that's useful.
Okay.
And another one would be more, I will continue, it can even on the like parts understanding, like it can even give me better. 10 AI created there's a lot from the value in that. Sometimes and that's of course, useful. Like a lot of brain. Sometimes, like how our brain I can use works, what it gives me, will still and, be like, piece different parts that together. I keep exploring, so that it's like a little bit more coherent.
If I was your friend and you were to ask me, like, listen, suggest some topics to me, I'd be like, you know what? I want to know about life after death or something like that. Like this stuff about it. Huh? Is there anybody who's that like something completely?
Yeah, I'm not surprised because I did have some like spiritual leaders who approached me. So yeah, okay, I'll put that in my list of ideas.
All right. So in the last year, who's the the guest you learned the most from, and the one that you were most excited to have on the show, and are they the same person in the past year?
You were definitely one of them, because I have really wanted to talk to comedians, like even from the beginning. So you were definitely one of them, because I personally love comedy, and I do think there's a lot of like science and EQ involved in being a comedian. So you were definitely one of them. And I learned a lot in the brain wiring episode with Dr. Loretta Bruning. And also I talked to a chef. That was the second episode about mise en place, because mise en place is another concept that I really like. What is mise en place? It's basically a French kitchen term. It means like having things in place. So if you're going to make a dish, the chef is not going to do everything as he's going down the cooking process, right? The things are already prepped there. Like all the work is done before, but you got your chopped vegetables, you have your sauces, you have your pans and pots, those type of things. And that concept can be applied to daily life too, because I read a book that talks about exactly that, how to apply mise en place in everyone's daily workday.
Well,
And it makes people like, you don't just go through your day like rushing from one thing to another, but you have control over your day.
but wouldn't that mean having like 20 people in your employment or doing things for you just to get you to a place where you can put things together and execute?
Not literally, but you yourself have to do more prep work so that your day can be less chaotic. So, for example, if I were to apply mise en place in my day, it would be like starting the day looking at what you need to achieve. And say you have a morning meeting that's more like progress, stand up type meetings. And then the next thing you have is like maybe leadership facing meeting. And then you have 1 hour, maybe you can have for lunch or something. And then you have to run errands. And you have to go out tonight, for example. But you have a proposal due tomorrow. So looking at what you need to do, so this is sort of like thinking of the dish you need to make.
Mm-hmm.
And what can I do before and after and during that can help me achieve all of these and achieve all of these with standards. So like maybe instead of just starting the day with that progress meeting, maybe even start yourself earlier. Like look at the progress. Think about the questions that people are going to ask during this meeting, and then doing some studying or research or like get your information together. The leadership facing one, also like mentally preparing what you need to answer or like think ahead. I think that probably would be the closest, is think about what the outcome needs to be. And when you're doing this, you are already thinking of how the final product should be. So yeah.
Something similar when it comes to say working out and running also, because what people tell me is that if you want to go running in the morning, the first thing you should do is put your running gear at least within reach, or you should go to bed wearing your running gear so that when you wake up, you have no excuse not to go running. So it's
Something like that.
Yeah. So you just have one step ahead and you keep pushing yourself towards where you need to be. That's great. That's great.
Yeah. And not being reactive.
All right. So last year was the chef, then the doctor you said, and myself and a few other guests of yours were inspiring to you. So what about the coming? Is there like if you picked a name out of a hat, you had a hat full of people that you could have called, who you will call in the future, and you said, I'm going to wave a magic wand and call this one person. Who would that be? You have only one name to pick. You cannot say I'm going to pick these 5 different people. Just one person who, if you could get them on the show, you'd get them on your show in a heartbeat. Who would that be?
That's very difficult because I do plan on reaching out to both of them. I'll pick this author. She's a psychoanalyst turned author. Her name is Philippa Perry. So I read her book, The Book You Want Everyone You Love to Read and Maybe a Few You Don't. I think she had a column in a newspaper, and then she receives readers' letters, and she answers their questions, but she also goes into a lot of the deeper like psychology type things. And everything she said in the book, I'm like, that's what I've been saying for years. I'm not saying like I'm as good as her, but a lot of these are common sense things that people don't think about. And I think one reason why I want to equip people with knowledge so they can go about life better is a lot of things are common sense. Like because everyone is in their situation, you're blinded by the situation. And then when you're the outsider, it's crystal clear what this person is doing is maybe not the best thing for them. So Philippa Perry would be the person.
I have 2 questions. Do you genuinely think, you've said it twice already, that you wanted to equip people with enough knowledge to help them live their lives better? Do you genuinely feel that teaching someone anything is even possible? I mean, I know you can teach people ABC because we all went through school and learned ABC and maths and all that. But stuff like how to live life better, is it even possible? Do you genuinely believe that? Or you at least want to create the knowledge and let them find it whenever they're ready? I'm always conflicted by this. How much can you teach someone, especially as an adult? How much can you teach someone how to live their life better?
Teaching people, absolutely possible. changing people is not possible because a person will change only if they want to change.
Mhm.
If they're changing because someone else told them to, eventually they're gonna break the rule or go back to their own self. But by teaching them, you at least expose them to the information. And it all depends on that person. If the person, him or herself, have no desire to even take in the information, or they're completely closed-minded and don't even, it's like a like nothing penetrates,
It's
there's
bouncing.
nothing you can do.
Yeah.
But if the world is already filled with negative, fake media, why not spread like more accurate, factual information?
Mm.
And in what I'm doing, I'm training AI to spread factual information as well.
Okay.
So teaching, absolutely. How effective it is, it depends on the person. And also, a lot of the episodes, it's not so much like, it's not black and white and only black is the way you should go. It's not like that. It is, these are the colors. This is how your eye will react to this color. And in this situation, like when you're about to go to bed, a white light will affect your sleep quality, yellow light will help. So it's more like that. I'm not saying red is better than yellow. So, yeah.
So the other question that I wanted to ask was why Philippa, and you sort of answered it then, but
Uh-huh.
beyond that, like what are some specifics that she was talking about that you thought was really important for more people to hear about? Like maybe one or two things from that book, if you could share that.
She talks a lot about the things that are related to her psychoanalysis work. And because a lot of the things that we are struggling to make a decision on, you actually do know what the decision should be. I remember one of the letters that she received from her readers. It's things like, I'm really attracted to this person at work, but I have a loving family. My wife is caring, things like that. But I'm like, we haven't done anything yet, but like we're this close to doing something. Like, what should I do? And then she kind of reframes, like, she's not saying adultery is wrong, but like she's reframing, like, do you want a life partnership? And by committing anything with this other person at work, what you have at risk. And so she's not saying you should not cheat. Thou shall not cheat. But
Yeah.
like, think about what you want. Because if you ask that question, if this person still carry on doing what the animal instinct drove him to, then it's your choice. And you're putting your partner, you're putting your marriage at risk. If you're willing to do that, well, maybe there's something about the marriage. Maybe you are not really committed to this marriage anyway, and it may fail eventually down the road. But I think this aspect of how she analyzes the situation and give people advice, that resonates with me a lot.
Okay, so now your choice was a person who I'm not sure many people know about Dr. Philippa, right? I was expecting you to say Barack Obama or someone like a global person like that. So is that a reflection of how you are as a person? You look for mentors and sources of knowledge more accessible to the regular people, or are you like, what's your social media consumption like? What do you look for when you're thinking about what to talk about next? Or I mean, I know you talk to your friends, but like, how do you inspire yourself? How do you orient yourself in life?
Those are a few questions in there.
Mhm.
I think I am very like educational. Like deep down, I'm a nerd. Right now, there's this one Instagram account that I recently discovered. I love it. So it's animation, but it's animation of simple things in life, like the tips and not even hacks, just like tips. So it's like if you have a super hot pan, don't put it in like cold water, or like don't put onion next to avocado or something. So I want people to know to navigate life and to live a more fulfilling life. If you can understand yourself, if you can apply the same psychoanalysis to yourself, it helps you avoid a lot of like confusion. Confusion is one of the emotions that I hate the most. I want people to stop being confused with life. And one way to not be confused with life is like have a very clear vision ahead, at least for yourself. Like you can't control anything around you. But if you know what you want, you will pave the way for yourself to get to where you want to go.
But you lived in, say, 5 or 6 different cultures, different cities, and you have had to deal with not knowing anything about a new place you moved to. You moved from London, from San Francisco to London, London to Hong Kong. I know you've been to Japan, you've lived in Japan, you were in South Africa not so long ago. You are intentionally putting yourself in places where confusion is your state of being. But now you're still like confusion. You need to reconcile this for me.
So confusion and uncertainty are different.
Okay.
Confusion and unknowns are different. So let's say before I move to any country or before I go on a trip, I research everything I can. Like I research the basic things like the voltage, what adapter I need to bring currency, is credit card accepted, like things that will keep me alive there. And with internet nowadays or smartphones, so much easier. I just need to know like the major things like, get my SIM card type thing. So I prepare. The unknown would be, how is it actually like when I'm there? Like, it's crossing the road exactly like how it, like the internet says. Like, when you're in Rome, just follow the Romans. Otherwise, you will never be able to cross the road. Things like that. You don't know until you're there. But at least you have an idea of this may come up. And language, like maybe learn a few phrases here and there, or get the translation app with the local language downloaded already. And yeah, so the unknown makes life a little interesting, first of all. And it's not my first time going to a destination that I don't know of, because I've done enough of that. I kind of know how I should prepare and like what are some like safe moves universally. Like universally, there's some safe moves, and just be safe. I err on the safer side of things when I'm traveling or when I'm in unknown situations, just to like keep myself alive. So yeah, does that answer your question? Confusion and unknowns are different.
What I'm hearing from you is that you don't actually give too much space for not knowing what's going to happen to develop. You do your research, you sort of get your apps downloaded, you have your currency in your pocket, you make sure your phone SIM is enabled and data roaming is turned on, or whatever those things are supposed to be. You do everything possible to keep yourself alive and safe. So it's essentially like you're going to Six Flags and you're on this roller coaster, but you make sure you're strapped in, make sure that steel cage you're inside is not defective.
I don't think I can
and
do
then
that.
you're taking a risk.
To make sure it's not defective. I'm at the mercy of the people there.
We just hope that, it's been inspected recently and your steel cage, that the one they put you inside the harness and everything, it's all done. That sounds like this, that your life is also like that. You're not really, really, really going completely off the reservation and doing something crazy. You're just doing enough to get that sense of going to a new place. I understand. So, okay, cool. So now the question about podcasting, your domain right now, apart from your work, is podcasting, and you're trying to share knowledge. But what kind of podcast do you listen to? What kind of people do you admire? Like specifically podcasting. Do you listen to other podcasters? Do you look at them and say, oh, you know what, this is really cool. I should try this on mine.
Yes. Hidden Brain is where I listen a lot. I think Mind Blend is influenced by Hidden Brain. I really like what they dive into, and there's a lot about like how your brain works, how emotions work, and things like that too. So Hidden Brain, which is like, that's why I said I'm a nerd, because I love listening to things that I am gaining something, I'm learning something. So Hidden Brain is one of them. I'm trying to think if there's any I listen for fun. There is, but there's also this underlying learning. So 2 other ones are related to Japan. One is called Abroad in Japan. So Chris Broad is the person, and I've read his book too. So basically he taught English in Japan and just stayed there. He didn't come back to England, and he started a podcast. The podcast is for people who are interested in life in Japan without living in Japan. So I listen to that one so I can kind of keep in touch with what's happening to Japan, because I lived in Japan a long time ago. I still go there. I still talk to my friends, but new things come up, right? So I don't want to be like super outdated. People know exactly like, oh, you were here in the 2000s, early 2000
Mm.
type things. So kind of to keep me in touch with Japan. The other one is a Japanese podcast in Japanese. So this person, he lives in Mexico. He teaches Japanese in Mexico, but the podcast is not like language podcast. It's just him talking about various things, but I can practice listening. So, and his topics are actually really fun as well because it's day to day things, but there's like cultural involved there. There's, life in Mexico. He even shared an episode like how to be efficient in taking a shower in Mexico because you only get
Mm.
water for 3 minutes and it's not 3 minutes of hot water too. So, like stuff like that. I learned
Mm.
vocabulary. I learned because he talks about things in Japan too when he goes back home. So these two are also like Japan related. I feel like if I'm not learning something and I'm just listening to something for fun, that's the minority of my media consumption. Yeah.
You're doing podcasting. It's been starting your second year. Is this going to be podcasting and then you're going to build a media empire around it? You're going to have a book coming out of it. Like, where do you see this? Where do you see this going after, say, 5 years?
If I want to be useful to society, then I do want to
Mm.
publish a book based on the things that were talked about on the episode. And because
Mm.
right now it's just year one, so I have many different facets of information. Not really something that has a clear direction yet, but I do want to use the content to publish a book of sorts down the road. And media empire, I don't know, because with great power comes great responsibility. And
You're choosing to teach people how to live life. That's a massive thing already.
yeah, I do want to be eventually like yourself, be on TEDx or a TED speaker. That was actually something that I thought about before the podcast. But I was thinking, yes, I have knowledge of many different topics. Do I have in-depth knowledge about any topic that I can give a speech about? Maybe not yet. So that's why I didn't pursue that road.
And so, where does the audience come from for your podcast? Like, is it all the UK or is it global? If it's global, which other countries do your listeners come from?
US is the biggest market.
Mhm.
And I think it's because I started it on more LinkedIn. Like I started promoting it more on LinkedIn because it was set up to be more professional career related. So because if you look at user base, of course, US is the biggest user base of many, many different platforms. US, the second one is UK. India is actually up there too. And Hong Kong. So mostly because of my connections. And then I have like a lot of other countries, Germany, Japan. What is the strangest one? I have some, I think Estonia was one of them too. So ran like very geographically dispersed. I think South Africa was another one, but that was probably my friend when she was visiting South Africa, Australia, like countries that can understand English at least. Yeah, and then my guest comes from everywhere too. So where the guests are from, there will be some listenership.
So, which is the most out there country from where you've got a guest?
From where I got a guest, let me think. Mexico, but she's just
Yeah.
living in Mexico. So yeah, I would say Mexico, but something else may come up.
Right. So, if there's one country that you'd want a guest from, like if I was doing a podcast on thing, I would like Afghanistan. That would be a country like you'd never expect a podcast guest from Afghanistan saying, here's what you can learn about life in Afghanistan. I'd love something. Is there any country like that in your mind that I wish I could get a person from there?
Right now, probably Greenland. Yeah.
Right. So Greenland. Okay.
Right now, probably Greenland because it'll be interesting to hear their perspective.
I don't think you need to go to a podcast.
I
Enough
don't
people
know
could.
because what we see in media is filtered by the media, right? So either Denmark or Greenland.
Okay, that's a good one. That's a good one. That's like
Yeah,
unexpected. Right?
because I did hear different perspective, like how Danish people think about the situation, how Greenland people think about the situation. So yeah, like
They're not the same. I'm assuming when you
so
said that They're not the same?
So what we see on media, but what do we see in media is like Greenland people are saying like we are our own country, like we need to decide. And then for Denmark, we see the perspective of Danish government, right? But one of the person in the South Africa trip, she lives in Denmark right now. And then she said, if you ask any Danish, they'll just say, take it. Because they're paying taxes to support Greenland. So for a Danish citizen, they're just spending money on this place that they're not gaining anything from. But from the government's point of view, there's like natural resources. But of course, citizens, that's like one layer removed from citizens. We have never heard this perspective before, right? So
True.
That's why.
So maybe your next niche could be correspondence from trouble spots in the world. Without that, Greenland and all those places.
Maybe. I don't know. Like things that people didn't know. Like uncovering things that people don't know.
Okay, so now one last question about podcast business. There is a lot of stuff that is not English. Like there's a lot of intrinsic knowledge in, for example, the Amazonian people and the Greenland people who are not maybe conversant in English. Do you worry that, there's some stuff I'm not able to expose to the world because I don't speak the language? Do you have any such ideas on how to bring that knowledge out?
100%, because it being an English podcast, my guests and I are limited to certain worldviews. Because if you think about all the English-speaking, not even just English-speaking countries, like English-speaking countries will be Australia, New Zealand, India, US, UK, Canada. Those are the ones that I can think of. We're already self-selecting. So I thought about doing something in Cantonese and Japanese, but I would have to kind of segment out the episodes because it's difficult for it to be multi-language in that way. Because like not all my listeners speak all three. So I did think about that. I don't know. I haven't really thought about how I can bring the information out, but one way would be eventually opening up a channel for people to write to me, and then I look at this topic and find out as much as I can, and maybe instead of conversing with this person because they don't speak English, maybe some other way, like written, or by that time, the live translation will be more advanced. So that would be possible. Yeah.
Have you had a moment when you're like, I've actually arrived? Has there ever been a moment in the last 1 year where someone like, oh, you Karen, I listen to your episodes all the time. Or do you want that to happen?
Yes.
This moment when you're like,
yes, like it was provoked. So one of my top fans, because I had a poster printed, and then he said something like, "Oh, I'm waiting for that signed poster of yours." So I did send it to him, and then he framed it and sent me a picture and said, "Like I'm waiting for the day where someone sees this in my house and go, oh, that's a great show. I listen to it all the time." So that made me want it. Yeah, of course.
And do your friends look up to you as this Yoda kind of like super wise person who knows everything?
Yes.
Because she to so many people?
Yeah.
Do they come to you for advice? Like, how do you deal with this?
Yeah, they come to me to like just have someone to talk to. Usually it's to have someone to talk to. And because I'm impartial when they are just looking for someone to listen to. And they think I am like there's this type of TV programs, like science program or health program. So, and then I think it was my sister. They're like, talking to you, it's always like watching those programs. It's never just chit-chatting. There's always something like factual that you could tell them. Or like, if we're talking about coffee, and then I may say, oh, you know what? Like say Ethiopia, or like the least developed the country is, the more organic it naturally is. Something like that. So, so you're saying like if people come to me for advice, yes, all the time, because I give them what they need to know to make their own decision.
Your friends were like, wow, talking to her like it's like your sister said, watching that educational program. So do you feel constrained in the amount of small talk you can make? Do you feel that maybe if I could just lose that nerdiness of mine and become good at small things would be better? Do you feel that?
So I don't think I'm bad at small talk. Like it's not in my nature to do small talks for 30 minutes and do serious stuff for 10. Like I will do 5 minutes of small talk and then get into business. So I don't think I'm limited per se. I don't always try to teach people things because that will come across as mansplaining. I'm sorry that you're a man, but it's just, it will undoubtedly become that. So I also don't want to be that person. So I kind of like limit how much I teach when I'm talking to that person. But yeah, like I feel like more like a therapist because they don't really answer you, right? They just ask you a bunch of questions. Yeah. So I think it's that.
But do you think, I mean, again, back to the podcasting, do you think that is the right thing to do, to just create the atmosphere when you're within which your guest is able to completely answer the question to the fullest extent possible? Or do you feel this urge to direct them in a certain way or any of those things? Like there is a lot to be taken in, and then we as the listeners have to filter out some of the stuff that we don't want and say, you know, I'm going to focus on the stuff that I do want, which is a little bit like you're not boiling it down to that little nugget of stuff that I can use, because I have to listen to a lot of stuff, get rid of some stuff. So I'm just thinking out loud. That's how it's going to be. That you have all this other stuff that I need to listen to just to figure out the stuff I do want to hear.
So because every episode, because I don't know what the situation of the listener is, right? So every topic, every episode, we talked about stuff with the guests. But I usually have questions like, okay, in real life, how does that look like? For someone who's not in this field at all, how can they apply it? So at least there's a little bit more practical how this information is useful to me. Because like it's really easy to lose people if they think, oh, I'm not in leadership, so this episode about leadership, not relevant. But there's also things that they can take away from what we talk about when it comes to leadership. Maybe it's not about how you yourself be a better leader, but how you can look out for bad leaders and try to find better ones to follow. You know, things like that. So I try to add practical aspects to it. Yeah.
Cool. So I think we've spoken for about an hour, and it's been a revealing conversation. We've learned so much about Karen, the person who was helming Mindblend for 1 year, and now she's just for this one episode, she agreed to be on the other side of the table and answer questions for us. We've learned about her journey as a child in various cultures, as an adult experiencing different cultures, how she thinks about experiencing different cultures, how she appears to her sister, who thinks that she appears like a TV show. That's interesting. And the kind of stuff that inspires her, the stuff that she likes to listen to. So this was an exceptional conversation with you, Karen. I'm so glad we had the opportunity to actually do this and put you on the hot seats. How does it feel to answer questions and not keep asking questions?
Oh, like I have to dig deep. I have to dig really deep because I feel like my thinking, like even though my job is to organize information, right? But when it comes to my own things, the thinking is like very jumbled. It's never black and white. It always depends on something. And then I know I want this, but maybe instead of just going one straight road, it's like this, and then I get there. Like when it comes to my own things. So it's kind of interesting. I'm not a Gemini, but I feel like I'm Gemini in certain ways. So yeah.
Were you born in sometime in May or something? Is that why you're saying I'm Gemini?
No, July. So I'm a Cancer.
This is the most animated. You waving your hand around. That's the first time I'm seeing you so animated about.
Oh really? I do that a lot, actually.
Nice.
So it feels energetic to be in the hot seat.
Okay, cool. So I think.
Thank you.
You want to stop recording? I don't know what to do.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for this idea.